Alright, welcome back to the channel for the first time in a long time. Yes, it has been a minute. Life got busy, had winter break, but we're back. And we're back with a big one. End of the regular season for NFL has now come and gone. Crazy that the season is already over, to be honest. 18 weeks gone just like that, and now it's playoffs, and then it's draft season. But draft season, for some of us, have already started, and it started, well, let's be honest, probably around week 9 if you're a fan of the Titans, Giants, Browns, Patriots. It might have even started week 2. But this one is going to be pretty eventful. This is more of what I would do, but I'm going to mix in some things that maybe you should consider more as the draft cycle and draft process continues, as we get closer to that April 26th, I believe, first round date. New number 1 overall pick for the first time this season. It is the Titans, and then the Browns, Giants, Pats, and Jags, round out the top 5. So it's an interesting top 5. It's switched around a ton the last 2-3 weeks with teams winning, fan bases getting angry. But it is what it is, man. All these guys are competitors. They're not just going to go out there and forcefully lose so that they and their team can have the number 1 overall pick. No one wants the number 1 overall pick, if we're being honest, until, the draft actually comes. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I will gladly take that guy. Glad we lost because this dude's going to turn around our franchise. And that's what we're, going to look at the possibility for these teams to do, is turn around their franchises, starting with the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Titans do look like they're ready to move on from Will Levis. Looks like that experiment is over. Brian Callahan, multiple times this season, looked like he was ready to move on, but you only have so many options in season. So do you go quarterback, a Shadur, a Cam Ward, a Jalen Milroe? Probably not at number 1. Jackson Dart, Carson Beck, all these guys. Wow, Jackson Dart is way down here on PFF. But Cam Ward, I don't think really fits with what Brian Callahan wants to do. I think Shadur fits more with what Callahan would like to do. Another option, obviously, would be Travis Hunter, McMillan for this team. But I think it's been floated around as well as Abdul Carter. He has been unbelievable for that Penn State defense. The Titans don't have any sort of pass rush outside of Jeffrey Simmons. Let's be honest. I mean, are you really happy with what Harold Landry has put out there recently, or whoever they have? I do think Abdul Carter is in play, but I'm going to go with Shadur Sanders here, and get him off the board, at least for now, because I just don't see another way the Titans are really going to go, unless it is an Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter. But Shadur, kind of similar to Joe Burrow. I'm not going to compare him at all to Joe Burrow, though. Just more of the fact that he likes to be that pocket passer, can manipulate the pocket, sometimes holds on to the ball a little bit too long, and he can end up taking pretty big hits because of that. But Shadur Sanders, very accurate, has a nice touch on deep balls. I think is going to be a good player in the NFL and works really well in Callahan's scheme, like I said. Cleveland Browns. I think this is another team looking for a quarterback. Obviously, I think most people think that Deshaun Watson had a quote-unquote restructured contract. It really didn't do anything, just put more money down the line for the Browns, I'm pretty sure. But they could go really anywhere. I mean, you could think about Ginty at 2. That would be a little bit exciting. You could think about Abdul Carter across from Myles Garrett, or if you end up trading Myles Garrett, that is a big, big thing to think about. Mason Graham to fill in the middle. I know you got Mike Hall last year in the second round. He was technically the first pick for the Browns. He got injured. I don't know what actually, the severity of his injury, but it was some sort of leg injury that didn't look great. I think Mason Graham's in play. I think Ginty is in play, actually. I think Abdul Carter is in play. It's an interesting spot here for the Browns because you can also go Cam Ward, who is right there. But I also think they might just end up signing players. Like I said, we're going to make this a little bit interesting. We're going to go Abdul Carter here. and just maybe take their best player available at this point. Maybe they don't really love a Cam Ward, who is still a little bit raw, even though he is a fifth-year senior. It's kind of crazy to say. This quarterback class we know is not good. Could be added to. We don't know what Drew Aller ends up actually doing. Yeah, we're going to have to figure that one out. But Giants now on the clock after the Browns take Abdul Carter in a little bit of a switch up. But I remember we're feeling out some, different experiences, different picks. And for the Giants, I think this is another spot you could go a multitude of different directions. Travis Hunter, I really think could be the play here. Just more the fact that QB isn't very good. He's by far the best player. I wouldn't say by far the best player on the board. Mason Graham and Will Johnson are also up there. But the Giants desperately need to get better at or on their defense. Corner, especially the secondary, is really, really bad. I think you could get away with adding some depth to the D-line later in the draft. Adding to Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and that group. But you need guys in the secondary. Travis Hunter is sitting here, my number one player on the board at the end of this season, at least NFL season right now. Today, John Mara basically said it's playoff or nothing, so that makes me think it's going to be a quarterback. So if Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders is here, I think they're going to take him. So we will go Cam Ward. I really wanted to go Travis Hunter, and especially as a Giants fan, I'm kind of at the point where I just want to take best player available no matter what, and I think that would be Travis Hunter at this point. So at 4, the Patriots sit, and they get Travis Hunter still. They went from the number 1 to the number 4 pick. They still get Travis Hunter. I can't see him falling anywhere past really even 3, to be honest, but we went Abdul Carter for the experiment. At number 5, Jacksonville Jaguars is an interesting one. I really like Will Johnson. I really like Mason Graham. This could be a Will Campbell. They traded away Cam Robinson in the middle of the season to the Vikings. So that O-line is really not good, and you might just want to add talent to it to protect Trevor Lawrence. And I think that's what we're going to do here and go Will Campbell. I don't know where he will play, but I do think overall he's just the best offensive line prospect in this class. Him and Kelvin Banks are 1-2, and it's relatively not close, in my opinion, because the rest of the guys behind them, for one, you don't know if they're playing tackle or guard, and 2, they're also pretty raw as prospects when you look down the tackle class. But I do like Banks. I like Simmons. I like Ursary. I like Milam. I like Cameron Williams. But a lot of those guys, you don't know if they're going to stick out at tackle. I think Ursary and Williams definitely will. Simmons was injured early on in the season, missed the entire season. Milam is looking to probably fit better at guard at the NFL level. So, again, you just never know. But Will Campbell there at 5 for the Jags. Please protect Trevor Lawrence, because that is a lot of money that you have there sitting in the backfield and currently sitting on IR. Number 6, Las Vegas Raiders. Tetero McMillan, Will Johnson, Ashton Jeanty, Luther Burden, Jalen Walker. Who do you want? Kelvin Banks. Actually, their O-line's been somewhat decent. So you could go Jeanty and really try to spice up this offense with a pretty all right offensive line, actually. Like, it showed in those late games throughout the season that, they got guys like Sincere McCormick going, Amir Abdullah going. So, I don't know if I can pass up on Will Johnson or McMillan for Jeanty, but I think I'm going to. It might not be the flashiest pick. Running back, the value for that has been kind of deteriorating the last couple years with how much the league is passing. But Jeanty is just different, man, and he could really help take the weight off the quarterback's shoulders, whoever that may be. Maybe the Raiders bring in a Sam Darnold after his season, a Kirk Cousins on a veteran minimum, and then draft a Dart or a Milroe or a Beck later on in the draft and let him develop behind one of these veteran guys. But Jeanty here at 6 really helped get that Raiders offense going, because the Raiders offense did relatively nothing all year long. New York Jets. what another, just fascinating team. I'm just going to go Will Johnson here. Get a guy across from Sauce Gardner, take a lot of pressure off of his shoulders, always guarding wide receiver 1. You got a lockdown duo in Will Johnson and Sauce Gardner if this is the route that you go. And you could definitely go Mason Graham. You could go Malachi Starks, although I don't know if he's going top 10 anymore with the season that he had. I still think he's a fantastic player, but the tape is what the tape is. And what he gave us most recently is definitely not his best tape out there. Will Johnson, yes, got injured, missed the last half of the season. Just a phenomenal lockdown corner out of Michigan. Carolina Panthers. I think this is, if you don't like an edge player, get Bryce Young more weapons because Bryce Young is looking spicy now. He was by far the best-looking quarterback from last year's draft class by the end of the season, and that game against Atlanta was very, very nice. But we've got McMillan, got Mason Graham, Luther Burden, Nick Scorton, Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams somewhere down here. You can really go a variety of different ways. I like what I saw from Jalen Coker, and Adam Thielen is obviously getting older. Xavier Legette's pretty good. I think you could get a receiver farther down. I do love Luther Burden, and I think could really revolutionize the offense for Carolina and give Dave Canales a Chris Godwin-esque player out of the slot, get the ball in his hands, and he just does wonders for you. But that defense is just so bad, and this might come as a shock. He's actually not, because he's listed at linebacker. My edge 2 behind Abdul Carter right now is Jalen Walker, and that's why I'm going to go here at 8. He is so good coming off the edge, getting after the passer. If he plays there full time at his 6'5", or 6'5", that's Mykel Williams, sorry, 6'2", 245 frame, I think he could be a very effective pass rusher. Now that is a stretch to have Jalen Walker up at 8 for some people, but I just think he is that good of a player that you take a chance on him and put him at that edge spot and just let him work. Pick number 9, New Orleans Saints. Cam Jordan's not getting any younger. Mason Graham is still here. Nick Scorton's still here, but you could get Mason Graham and Brian Brzee next to each other for the next 4-5 plus years. I'm taking that all day. I can't pass up on a Mason Graham. Some people may think that's just not a fit for what the Saints are doing, but we don't even know who the Saints coach is going to be. We don't know what roster moves they're going to make. Yes, this could be edge. This could be a Scorton, a Mykel Williams. It could also be offensive line. Trevor Penning did not look that great this year, so it could be a Cam Williams, a Kelvin Banks. They could go receiver with how banged up Chris Olave has been, Rashid Shaheed as well. So, but I just can't pass up best player available, and that is Mason Graham. Pick number 10, this is going to be Kelvin Banks. Straight off the bat, no doubt about it. You can't go into the next season not addressing the offensive line because apparently you're going to need to give Caleb Williams all the time in the world. But hopefully, new coach will get that out of him, make quicker decisions. But you still need to protect, get the run game going. Swift was all right this year. He definitely had his games and moments, bad and good, that is. Kelvin Banks helps you out. I think he's the best pure tackle in this class. I do think he stays out at tackle in the NFL, and he'd be playing on the right side, I believe, because they have Braxton Jones on the left. Or no, he would be playing on the left because Darnell Wright is on the right side. Kelvin Banks would be on the left side. And I don't see a reason why you would pass up on a talent like Kelvin Banks just because you have Braxton Jones. So protect Caleb Williams and try to get that offense humming. Pick number 11, San Francisco 49ers. This could be corner. It could be safety. Maybe even receiver. I don't know what's going to happen with Debo. They could use some more weapons, though. I do like their weapons, so I'm not going to go there quite yet. I'm thinking edge a lot here. I don't think you reach for any of these tackles. I think maybe you could trade up back into the middle to the early round 2, maybe to get one that falls, or a guard for that matter. I just think the edge talent right now is so much better, and Micah Williams, James Pierce, I think really fit and could be really fun across from Nick Bosa, and they definitely need to retool at the edge position, especially with Nick Bosa's health. Doesn't seem to always stay healthy. I think I'm going to go with another Georgia edge rusher, though, edge rusher in Micah Williams at 11. Just freak athlete. He is 6'5", and can play all over the D-line at 265. Ridiculous talent at 11 for the Niners. And at number 12 for the Dallas Cowboys, I don't know what's going to happen with DeMarcus Lawrence, so you could go that route of D-line. I really think, though, without Ginty on the board, a McMillan, a Burden, take your pick at one of these top receivers that is still here. My number one receiver is Luther Burden, but they have CeeDee Lamb, who also kind of plays that same role. So I'm going to get someone different. We're going to go Teteroa McMillan here at 12. 6'3", 6'4", can really run after the catch. Doesn't always separate the best or most consistently, but I think you could definitely develop that. He has the athleticism to do it, even though it's not high-end athleticism. So, yeah, 6'5", 210. Ridiculous size and speed, and you can't pass that up at 12 for the Cowboys. Pick 13, Miami Dolphins. Well, you could be looking for a receiver next to Jalen Waddle now, with no Tyreek Hill, and Luther Burden actually would be a pretty decent fit. I think you could see a reach here for a Cam Williams or an Ursery, but why not just take Luther Burden? I mean, the Dolphins don't seem to take, what they should, quote unquote, according to their fans, but why not? You could go edge with a Nick Scorton, but I have Luther Burden as a top 10 player on my board, at least. Obviously, definitely not on everyone's board, but I think Luther Burden is a high-end talent with the ball in his hands and how quick Mike McDaniel likes to run his offense. Getting the ball into a guy like Luther Burden's hands and just letting him go could be really, really valuable for Tua's health and just the overall offense for the Dolphins. Pick 14, Indianapolis Colts. I like Malachi Starks in this spot just because of his versatility. Again, I don't know if he goes this high because of his tape. And I think, why not just add edge talent next to Leatu Latu, DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart. So I think that's what we're going to do. And Chris Ballard really likes his freak guys. So we're going to go James Pierce here. So that gives you two of the fastest edge rushers in Leatu Latu and James Pierce Jr. off the edge. Good luck opposing offensive linemen getting off the line against those two, because that is terrifying. Pick 15. We're going to go the same route. I will not take a edge rusher at this position for the Falcons for the time being, because that's the glaring need that they have had for the past 2 or 3 years. They keep passing it up. Get Nick Scorton, best power rusher in this class. He has super heavy hands. When he throws those hands into your chest, you feel it. And the Falcons just need someone on the edge to make plays. Grady Jarrett is also getting no younger. Lorenzo Carter is not the answer. Arnold Ebiketie has been fine, but none of them are Nick Scorton here at 15. Arizona Cardinals at 16. Malachi Starks and Budda Baker would be kind of fun, but I think you probably want to look in another direction. Maybe on the interior, a Walter Nolan here I think could be fun for that Jonathan Gannon defense to stay aggressive, and that's where we're going to go. Walter Nolan, a part of that Ole Miss D-line, super aggressive. They ran stunts constantly to get after the quarterback. Walter Nolan, former 5-star recruit, I think top 3 in his class. He might have been the number 1 overall player, to be honest. I don't exactly remember, but a fun player nonetheless. And the Cardinals just need talent along that D-line, and that's what they get here with Walter Nolan. 17, Cincinnati Bengals just fired their defensive coordinator. So they'll be looking for a new one, a new scheme. Who knows what that will bring. Didn't mean to kind of rhyme there, but we did. I think T. Higgins will come back. I think with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase really vouching for that, I think they will get it done. So maybe you try to look to the D-line. A Kenneth Grant is a great player. So is Shamar Stewart. Get someone across from Trey Hendrickson. I think this could also be tight end, just to add more talent to the offense. Shamar Stewart's a fun player. I don't know if he goes top 20 exactly. 6'6", 290, though, is ridiculous for how athletic he is. Tyler Warren, though, and Colston Loveland in this spot are interesting choices. I think you could look for a developmental tackle as well. A Cam Williams is definitely in consideration at this spot. Where do we really want to go? I do think Kenneth Grant is a top 20 player, and I think that's where I'm going to go. He could definitely fall down the board as well, but I think with the offseason process, the combine and everything, there is a chance that he comes up some boards. I know that he's not quite the player that a Nolan is. He definitely benefited being next to Mason Graham, but he is a very good player in his own right. 6'3", 340, mammoth of a man, I think could really benefit the Cincinnati Bengals in that defensive front, especially Trey Hendrickson. And B.J. Hill actually made some pretty good plays this season as well. Seattle Seahawks, I think they will be looking for a tackle or an edge of the future. Edge, is there a guy that screams Mike McDonald right now? Not really. LT Overton went back to school. I do think a Cam Williams would be very interesting. I don't think their tackles necessarily need to be upgraded. It's more of the guard, and I think you could get that in the second round. But at the same time, Cameron Williams is very, very talented. So I think that's the route that we're going to go. 6'5", 335. That's who we're going to go here for the Seahawks. Tyler Lockett could be gone, so this could be receiver as well. But we're going to go Cameron Williams. I've seen some Jalen Milroe experiments. I think those will continue with the uncertainty of Geno Smith coming back. But Cameron Williams is a really good player, and if you can develop him, whether that be at guard or tackle, again, this tackle class is very mixed with those. Like, there's a lot of tackle prospects that are looking to be probably guards in the NFL. I don't think Cameron Williams is one of them, but you could definitely upgrade Abe Lucas, even though he's been a fine player out there. He's just had, some injury issues, and Cameron Williams, if his full potential is brought out, 100% a better player than Abe Lucas. Pick number 19, Houston Texans. I am going Emeka Egbuka right off the bat. He is my wide receiver 2, actually, right now. And if you're listening earlier, yes, Luther Burden was my wide receiver 1. So McMillan is currently wide receiver 3, but Egbuka goes 3 in this mock draft just because of fit and everything for these teams. Stephon Diggs is probably not coming back, especially with that injury. We don't know Tank Dell's health going into next season. That was a major, major knee injury. Emeka Egbuka, CJ Stroud's former teammate, is a Stephon Diggs-esque player. Maybe doesn't have the explosiveness over the top, even though we did see a little bit of that in the Oregon game with that seam shot Will Howard threw to him. Egbuka is a certified chain mover, really good route runner, more of a possession catch receiver, but does have the ability to run after the catch, run through contact as well. I really like Egbuka, and it's a good thing he came back because he proved a lot of people wrong with a lot of things that he did this year. At number 20, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I just see corner or like secondary or edge really is where their biggest upgrades are needed. Benjamin Morrison is still on the board. I think that is a very good fit. He's an aggressive player. He's a lengthy player, a really good athlete out on the boundary. They need a lockdown corner, a cornerback one of the future, and I think Benjamin Morrison could give Todd Bowles and his staff that. 21, Bo Nix and the Broncos are in the playoffs. Sean Payton has done a phenomenal job. Tight end has been slotted here for a lot of people, and it's going to be that for me as well. Tyler Warren, 6'6", 261 pounds, a straight baller, dude. This guy is so unbelievably, ridiculously talented. That was a lot of Lees. And it's worth giving those out because this guy is just an unbelievable football player. I think Sean Payton and his offensive mind could do a lot of different things with Tyler Warren, like we've seen with Penn State this year as well. I think that would be a really fun match with Payton and Warren. Pick 22, Pittsburgh Steelers. They need secondary help as well, and I think that's probably where I'm going to go here. Malachi Starks is still on the board. You have Minkah Fitzpatrick, but you do need a little bit of help at the corner position. Malachi Starks has the flexibility to play the corner position. If you look at where he's played, 271 in the slot, 10 out at corner, and then 215 snaps at box safety, and 400 deep. You put him next to Minkah Fitzpatrick, and then you can also line him up in the slot. He is a dangerous, dangerous player when you start moving him around because the defense has to take notice of where he is because he's that good of a player. He is a ball hawk, really good ball skills. This year, maybe didn't show it as much, but he is a phenomenal player, and I think Mike Tomlin could do some great things with that kid. Pick number 23, Los Angeles Rams. Probably hate seeing Malachi Starks and Benjamin Morrison go off the board with two of the last three picks in front of them. But you can still get a cornerback. I think Jahdae Barron is probably my next corner off the board, and that's where I'm going to go here. Although Siobhan Revel might fit Shula's defense a bit better, I just don't know where he'll go because of his injury. Now, great height and length for Revel. 6'3", 193. Really, really good size. Has got great athleticism, but we don't know exactly what he'll be when he comes back. So that is a big question mark. They could go tackle. I don't think that's where they're going to go. I'm going to go Jahdae Barron here over Revel, and then we will also go Revel here for the Packers super quickly because they are going to need some secondary help, and I think they can take that chance. I do think Revel will be able to bounce back, but ACL, you never know with players. Revel could fall out, or Revel. I think it's Revel, actually. Could fall out of the first round. Barron, I think, has played his way into the first round. He has had a phenomenal season this year. Best cornerback in the country, literally won the award. Like, he has been so good and has really kept that Texas defense on track this year and playing their best. Pick 25. This isn't going to be really much of an experiment. It's just going to be Colston Loveland. You get another run blocker. You get another pass catcher for Justin Herbert. It's a Michigan guy. It's a Jim Harbaugh guy. Perfect fit in LA. 26, Washington Commanders. I'm going to protect old Jaden Daniels and get him Ariante Ursary out of Minnesota. Solid athlete, really good pass protector, was one of the big reasons why Minnesota was playing really good football by the end of the year. And I believe they actually ended up being ranked at one point because they were on quite the run. And he was a big part of that, creating holes for his running backs. Pick number 27, the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I could see Milam coming off the board here. Tyleik Williams feels like a pretty good fit for the Ravens. They could use some more defensive talent. I think they lost quite a few guys last year that were a lot more important than maybe they thought because the defense didn't look as good this year as it has basically the entire time the Ravens have been a franchise. So, I mean, Shamar Stewart's pretty fun. You can move him all around the defensive line. And I actually think that's where I'm going to go because they could use help not only on the edge but inside next to Nnamdi Madubuike. And Shamar Stewart's he had a great season this year. And, man, he is so athletic for his size, 6'6", almost 300 pounds. Ridiculous. And I think if anyone's going to get the most out of a guy like that, it will be the Baltimore Ravens. Philadelphia Eagles. I know they wouldn't usually do this. It's just not in Howie's resume. But Jahad Campbell feels a need. And I really think at this point he could be the best player on the board. He is phenomenal. He is a sideline-to-sideline linebacker. I do think they bring back Zach Bond, but to put a guy like Jahad Campbell next to him, doesn't have to worry about the responsibility of being a play caller, moving the defense. He can just play freely behind that amazing front four that the Philadelphia Eagles have. And next to Zach Bond, a veteran and a leader, he would thrive, I think, in that situation. Bills at 29. I do agree with PFF here. Interior D-line probably a need, but I'm going to go with a guy that has been playing really, really well as of recent, and that is JT Tuimoloau of Ohio State. Thought he was going to come out last year, is a really good athlete. For the better part of his first 3 years, he was really just defined by one or two games, and one of them being the Penn State game in 2022, I believe, where he had 4 sacks or something ridiculous. 6'5", almost 270, really good player, has a huge frame, obviously, and really likes to use his speed and athleticism around the edge, but also has a decent amount of pass rush moves that he's flashed here in the college football playoffs, especially recently with that Ohio State line getting after. And I think, to be honest, he's the one really leading the way. At number 30, Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Jones, Cam Akers, do they come back? I don't know. I do think there is another running back that goes in this first round. And I love Omarion Hampton, and I think he could be a centerpiece into helping J.J. McCarthy's development, really taking that weight off of his shoulders, not having to make all the passes and all the plays himself. Give the rock to Omarion Hampton. Yeah, I mean, he's just such a good player. Really good after after contact. 67 forced missed tackles this year. Obviously not the highest. It's no Ashton Jeanty, but when he gets going, you are not going to stop him and you are not going to catch him. That's for sure. Pick 31, Detroit Lions. I think this is probably going to be edge. A guy that just feels like a Dan Campbell guy is Jack Sawyer. I don't think he's a first-round talent, but this is the back end of the first round. Guys can, get pulled up into the first round because teams don't want to risk waiting. So we are going to go Jack Sawyer across from Aiden Hutchinson, a Michigan and Ohio State guy, coming off the edges for a Detroit team. Who would have thought? But he is a good player. Definitely a vocal leader in the Ohio State locker room, especially on the defensive side. And yeah, like I said, just a really good player. 32, Kansas City Chiefs, final pick of the draft. Well, mock draft. First round mock draft. They need help on the O-line still, I think. I think Simmons is borderline, could be brought back into the first round conversation. Same with Milam, whatever it is. Could also go something on the D-line, I think. But I did say I want to experiment a little bit. And we are going to go with Josh Simmons, actually, out of Ohio State. So 3 Ohio State guys go in the last 4 picks. Before the injury, Josh Simmons was playing really well. He's a really good athlete, especially for the position. And that will wrap up this mock draft. First one of really the draft season with the NFL regular season finally coming to a close. I say that as a Giants fan, finally. It does suck that the regular season is over, but it brings in some great content like this. This is definitely a much different mock draft than any of the other ones I've done so far this year, especially at the top with Abdul Carter at 2. But, again, this was all experiment. Take it with a grain of salt. when I do my next one, it'll be a lot more predictive probably, and it'll probably be closer to the Senior Bowl, if not after it. But until that point, I'm going to do some positional rankings. I'm really working on those videos and trying to get those out for you guys. I'll do some Senior Bowl stuff, some East-West Shrine Bowl as well, and really try and push out some content for you guys that have been patiently waiting for me to come back, if there is really anyone that was waiting. But I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know where I went wrong, where I went right, where you guys would have gone, obviously, if you're the GM, because you are the best GM in the world. And, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Take it easy, and peace.